And we're back. Welcome back to episode 8 of the Disney Dudes podcast. And I do have some news for you. If you look across the screen or if you see somebody else that looks different, we have a special edition episode tonight. We have a Mr. Ryland Bayne. He is making a special guest appearance. Ladies and gentlemen, give him a round of applause. It is
Don't
excellent.
clap on
We
this
give you
side. I'll burn my hands on the sun.
we, if that's the way you're getting a suntan, or you're flirting with the melanoma, sir, please,
That's
please.
how it feels in Charleston right now. Yeah.
So, 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 ladies, if you got your hair did or whatever, just stay indoors where it's climate controlled. Don't touch it. And actually, it really doesn't matter where you go because we're actually in South Carolina. Taylor, he was kind of a punk. He chose to no. Taylor is. We had a scheduling conflict. Taylor's actually going to be checking out a sweet concert this week. Lord knows, don't tell me what it is. His taste in music is kind of sad. No, just kidding. No, he's got a previous engagement. He's gonna be back next week, but I thought I was thinking about. I was like, well, I text Taylor at the beginning of the week and I said, man, hey, when do you want to record? We didn't even have a topic. And that's the great thing about this podcast is that we don't know exactly what we're going to be talking about. It's completely like the weekend of. We were like, oh, well, we'll do our top rides this, or we'll do Mount Rushmore that, or we'll do whatever. And if there's dead air, it happens. It is what it is. It's uncut, raw. I don't chop it up. I just talk, I ramble on, and people are going, cue the music, wrap it up. But no, honestly, this week I had the genius idea. To say, Disney dudes need to go to outer space. And I had no idea what that was going to look like, but I knew the one dude
I'm already in
that could
orbit.
actually bring it. He's already in orbit. He's already floating around. I'm ready to
250
get on my
miles
fancy
up doing 5 miles per second.
and see that kind of information I can't touch. That is why we have special guest Disney Dude Ryland joining the podcast tonight, and it's an honor. I've known Ryland for way too long. I don't get to see him enough, but actually, this is kind of like just seeing you in person right here, man. I'm seeing you on my screen live via.
Absolutely.
I'm in Spartanburg. He's in Charleston, down on good old James Island.
Yeah,
out in
see,
space.
if I look down there just a little ways, I can see your house in my background. I see your house down there. The wave.
Okay. And since we are now going to be filing a restraining order on someone in said space. No, I'm just kidding. No, but honestly, we do miss Taylor. He's definitely going to be listening to the podcast, give his honest feedback, and he's actually going to go, holy crap, this is so much better without me. I waved the white flag for being such a douche. Man, this podcast is 10 times better without me. Abbott is an absolute star with Ryland. No, I'm kidding. But no, if we could ever get a three-way with us, giggity, just kidding. No, if we could ever I know, see, it's off the cuff, man. You just got to go with it.
No, I'm opening to join. I'm opening to join up here, occasionally as the schedule permits, and the subject matter is germane relevant to my interests. Yeah,
correct.
Exactly.
And speaking of Jermaine, Jermaine Jackson, and we can correlate that to like 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, all the way to
Captain
Michael
EO.
Jackson, Captain EO, and hence outer space.
Yeah.
So I did have, and we're going to take a back step. I do have a corrections corner. I want to formally apologize in our panel. I do have a corrections corner back here in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and also spliced down in Florida. Lord knows I've gotten feedback all over the country. I had a person in California that actually sent me a message on Instagram and said, whatever dude this is, something to that effect. I'm not reading it verbatim. I do have my iPad in front of me to look at whatever messages, and I'm not going to read the messages because they're just way too positive and they love the show and such great feedback, and like keep doing you and don't call us, we'll call you type stuff. But no, they said to me, hey, your numbers are off with the episodes. So episodes 6 and 7 are 2-part of the top 10 restaurants, broken up. We did 10 through 6 and then 5 through 1. Between I can take all the blame because I'm the one talking, but yeah, we definitely said episodes 5 and 6, and they should have been 6 and 7, but they are advertised as 6 and 7. You may hear something to the contrary when you actually listen to the podcast, where you find your favorite podcast on my favorite Spotify. To me, that's the biggest, the best. You're talking multiple, like good Lord, 30 million, 80 million, Lord knows, I don't know. But anyway, they're a hosting website. They do a great job, give us great demographics, great numbers, great breakdowns, and we are hitting every single corner of the United States. We're officially in Mexico, Canada, and according to YouTube, we have actually touched Japan, ladies and gentlemen. We have touched Thailand. We have touched people in Southeast Asia. And you know
it's
how
cool
much I love
seeing this
touching
be a
people.
success.
It is. So far,
cool.
so good. And I think if you have merch, you are successful.
Until you had a guest on one week, and then that torpedoed the whole thing.
Yeah. And then we committed complete.
As I pointed myself,
complete
for those of you
show,
can't see it on
Spotify. Well, I can load it to Spotify, and that this may be the special edition episode I do it for. You know.
Oh wow!
So
okay.
Yes. Yeah, I think I might do that. And when you have special graphics like this, you know you're doing something right.
It's cutting the background out. Yeah.
And the best part about this is that glare does not. It's not laminated. That's just how ultra high definition this picture is. So anyway, for people that don't know what it is, that's thunder. That's thunder. No. Another Disney trick, Disney hack. But no, that's the Disney Dudes correction corner. We do have some Disney Dudes news. I know that Taylor is going to be taking his family back. He is a DVC member. Ryland, do you know what DVC is?
Actually, I do not.
Actually, I do Perfect. Not. And so I guarantee people that are listening to the podcast right now, wherever you are, tucked in bed, you know, counting the stars, dreaming of the next episode of the Disney Dudes podcast. It stands for Disney Vacation Club. And it's kind of like it. And Taylor tried to explain it to me, but they have specific perks for DVC members. They actually open the parks up for like Moonlight Madness, where they bring out rare character events, unlimited Mickey premium bars, which is like, you know, the chocolate covered Mickey, vanilla Mickey bar, ice cream bar.
So this is like chocolate. A VIP club if you're in the club.
It's literally, yeah, it's like the Mickey Mouse Club. And the buy-in is, yeah, of course, you know, you're gonna
pocket, yeah.
Yeah. So if you have 3 kidneys, you're in luck. So that being the case, no, he and his family normally go to the Riviera Resort, which is right next to. It's on the Skyliner. You know, their little gondola, sky gondola.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we stayed at the Art of Animation Studio, the Value Resort. But I'll tell you something.
That's there was nothing. Cool, though.
It was clean. It had a kitchenette. It had plenty of room for my kids, everyone involved, and we loved it. And we stayed in the Animal Kingdom portion of Art of Animation, walked 2 hop, skips, and a jump, and we're right there, right across from the All-Star Resort, another Value Resort. But anyway, you hop on the Skyliner, that takes you right to the international side, the international entrance to Epcot. Because Epcot and Hollywood Studios are right next to each other, so you can actually skip. You don't have to go to the main entrance. You can get right there in between. I think it's in between France and I know I'm going to butcher this, France and United Kingdom, right there. Yep, on that portion.
I did not know that. I didn't know you could do that. Like when you're walking the countries, I didn't know you could go into
that. Yeah, they call the international. The international gateway is what they call it. But you can actually take a boat. You can take a boat from the Swan and Dolphin. We stayed there in 2018 when Emily had a medical conference, when she was still in residency at Spartanburg Regional. She presented, but of course, focus was all over Disney, and our priorities were in line with drinking around the world. And you don't do it alone. Do it in pairs. Always have a partner.
Oh, yeah.
You do it alone, you will die. You will die.
Yeah.
But that being the case, you can either walk from you could walk in between Hollywood Studios and Epcot. And when we did that Tower of Terror 10 miler, we ran through the entire World Showcase, went behind Morocco, ran to Hollywood Studios, ran into the main entrance of Hollywood Studios, and went all the way back to the left by Gromit's Chinese Theater, and went through where the run goes through.
I didn't know all this stuff was that interconnected.
It's that
they
close.
Do a good job of hiding all this.
It's incredible.
This is as good as like, what is it, the trap doors where the employees come out and grab the cup that's gotten dropped on the ground and then disappear? Yeah.
It's called magic. It's called Disney Magic.
Disney Magic.
Yep. It's called Disney Magic, and they have certain colors. And this is definitely another idea for a topic for a future episode. They have certain colors that are proprietary. intellectual property of Imagineers. They
So
have
Disney created the color.
they have colors like the front of Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. It's this like over the top neon futuristic, building, and it's just neat over the top. I've seen it in person. I saw it back in April. It's the coolest thing ever. But when you're at the World Showcase, you can see the back of the building, but you really have to squint. It is the exact same color as the sky around it. It's called blend-in blue.
Wow. So
And they
that
have
you
blackout.
don't see it.
Exactly.
So it's camouflage, basically.
It's literally in the back of their buildings are painted certain colors to camouflage not only with the surroundings, but also adjacent parks based on the horizon.
Now,
So there are certain.
don't they do a tour where you can go on the tunnels? Well, I bet they rarely do it for people.
It's
But
called
tours where you can go through the
ticket.
tunnels where they
Yep.
ship the cast
Yes.
members around and have characters pop out. And
I've seen there's a very
there was a documentary
popular.
done of like they get
Yeah.
them around by golf cart underground and all of that stuff.
Yes,
Fascinating.
there's a whole.
I'm the kind of
and
nerd that would be more interested in how it works in the background than what I'm
There are certain
seeing.
things they don't want you to see it, but of course there are like hidden cameras people are taking with them, and there are tours that you can take, especially at Magic
See.
Kingdom, and
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
take you behind the scenes over there, where behind Lord knows Pecos Bill, and Frontier, getting onto Frontierland, kind of adjacent to Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad across from you right there. In Tom Sawyer Island, right there, and to the right is Liberty Square, and kind of diagonal is going to be Haunted Mansion right there. But they block it out. You don't see it. It's basically right across from Pirates of the Caribbean and Tortuga Tavern, and right there in the great tiki room, the famous tiki room. But you can
tiki room.
Exactly. And believe me, hot take here. Hot take. Do you do it for the actual show or to get out of the heat and actually have a break in AC for about 20 minutes?
Probably both. That's classic.
Great answer.
Though. I mean, that's been around since my childhood. And the song is in my head, the little toucans and stuff. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Toucan Sam's in there somewhere.
Give me my Fruit Loops. Give me my Fruit Loops, B. I'm in air conditioning. I don't care if the milk is spoiled from the Florida sun. Just give me my Fruit Loops.
Yeah, just get me out of the sun.
I'm dying of the melanoma. Anyway, but you're right about that. There is it's like the keys to the kingdom, and they take you on, like, you go in a little early, like an hour early into the parks, and they take you through at least the different doors. And I can tell you where those doors are based on research videos that I've seen. But that's definitely another episode right there. But what I was going to say was, we do have a shout out to Cordelia Travel, and I checked in with her. I'm not just going to promote another account, promote another business. Exactly. Espinita a Miami. And we're never going to do that again.
Miami. No habla español.
No sé. Got nothing. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Adiós. No. But
Quiero
no,
ir al
Cordelia,
baño.
¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está? But we had she is a Sophia Ruiz is a certified travel agent, and the name of her company is Cordelia Travel. She's a Disney specialist, and she specializes in Virgin Atlantic voyages, Royal Caribbean cruises, and Carnival cruises. You can find her. We will put her information in the show notes, and she will definitely give you a free quote on said vacation. But to me, I'm all about trying to get, if I can get a discount on Disney vacation. I'm not military. That ain't going to happen. But at the same time, she is definitely a go-to. She's a big fan of the show. She's given us a lot of praise, she actually told me the show was funny. I thought she had like a gun to her head. I don't know what that was all about. No, honestly.
Hey, she sounds like a fantastic resource. I would seek her out.
Exactly. And so you could probably see her house in Miami, right behind
we've
you.
changed. We've shifted a little bit.
Have
to
you
the
shifted?
West. Now I'm seeing like Seattle down there.
Oh.
And yeah, we've gone out west now because the sun is still out.
Is the sun always out? No.
I'm following the sun west, so I'm about to hit the Pacific territory.
See, this is information I don't know, and that's why We're going to reel it in. And we have Mr. James Ryland Bayne, goes by Ryland. Like I said, near and dear friend of mine. We go, 17 years back?
At
I
least.
mean, we're
yeah.
at least.
I went to high school with your wife and known her since high school, or maybe possibly before. I think no, before.
She went to, she was at St. Mary's before she started Greenville High.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's been a while.
It's been a while, but she knows Ryland well. We are interconnected, fortunately and unfortunately, in different situations with different said whatever. But that's another day, another time, and holla for $1. But what I need to do to ultimately prep for tonight's episode is I want to be sure that, of course, yes, we are recording, and we are live. It is a hot mic, but if it's a hot mic,
it's told me that I'm going to get really awkward now, really awkward, really sweaty.
If that happens, I may or may not discuss
this.
You
can put up, yeah.
So, Ryland, tell us about space. Oh, gee, well, if you look up in the sky, that's space. End of show. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen.
Space is out right now because it's we're dark here on the East Coast. So
exactly.
It's two Disney dudes in the state of South Carolina.
You know that Galileo guy that said the Earth was round? He was completely full of beep. No, the Earth is flat, people. Karen told me to say that. Karen told me to say that. She's gonna burn your books. She's gonna burn your books. No, but no. Let me do this one fun thing. We are gonna boop and we're gonna click this one thing because I want to be ready. Because I am definitely ready to take the Disney Dudes podcast. Me ready. Podcast. So we need back in the podcast. No, I'm ready to take the Disney Dudes podcast to outer space. And so that being
no
the case,
Disney podcast has ever gone before.
We are doing what? No. Well, I mean, you're in orbit.
We could research this. I don't know. This could be the first time. This could be the first podcast to take you in a Disney themed podcast into space without the weightlessness and the nausea and the barf bags.
And you don't have to wait in line.
You don't have to wait in line,
and you don't have to use Disney Genie Plus, which is their new online system for reservations or fast passes, whatever.
Wait, what is that called? Genie Plus?
It's called Genie Plus. Yep.
Oh,
and it's called correct. And you use and what it does, it gives you automated, depending on where you are in the park. They use this like quote unquote beacons with your Bluetooth and location, and they estimate wait times. And it's $15 per day if you want to use fast passes, but you can only use one fast pass every 2 hours.
Wow. Okay, so they throttle you so you don't take advantage of it. You're running out in front of everybody.
Correct.
You would have traffic jams. Yeah.
We're basically cattle and it's crowd control. And they know you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But of course and I know there's a good bit of friction in regards to that topic, but what I wanted to reel in is I just wanted to kind of touch on a few, Disney themed Walt Disney World rides. In Epcot, where the old Horizons used to be, is Mission Space. Now, every time I go to Mission Space, and I text you like I did traditionally when I go to Mission Space, and right now
I'm like, ride orange.
Yeah, orange is the only option.
You're like, yeah, right. I'm riding orange again.
Sure. Emily, don't ever admit I rode green for the 10th time.
Yeah.
Don't ever say that.
In Germany drinking beer right now.
Exactly. Laughing at Ryland thinking,
just tell him we've done it for the 10th time now.
Exactly.
We're riding on orange one more time for him because he can't be there.
And I may look white in the face, but it's worth all the weight I lost from all the fluids that drained my body as I felt that 2.5 G's of pressure. But Mission Space, it opened in 2003. And they said it was a spectacular thrill ride that simulates interstellar flight. The original was the green version. And I guess apparently that was too tame. It goes around Earth. I've never done green. Have you done green?
Yeah. Green. Okay. Well, okay. Green is for those who don't want to get into an actual centrifuge. They don't want to be put, because they tell you when you ride the ride on orange.
Yep.
When you get in it, usually if you're motion sick during the motion rides and stuff like that, close your eyes. It'll help you center. It's the same thing if you go up in a fighter jet or something like that. Close your eyes. Just don't let your eyes disagree with your inner ear. On orange, you are inside a centrifuge, and it is taking you and it is, I'm probably going faster than the frame rate, but it's spinning you around like you're inside of a Coke can. If you close your eyes, it actually makes it worse.
I did that.
Yeah, because you feel like you're inside of a can rolling down I-95. And it's not as pleasant than if you just keep your eyes open and just keep that 2.5 G's in orange.
Now what? And so given that, that's how many G's do you actually experience when you take off planet Earth, typical space launch to outer space? Let's say that you and I are.
It can be anywhere from, in the beginning, these guys were trained fighter pilots. They had thousands of hours in fighter aircraft, very high performance. They're used to pulling 5 and 6 G's, all that stuff. Those guys would take off, and they'd be between 3 and 5 on liftoff, but on suborbital flights, the first American in space, Alan Shepard. His flight, big arch, came back, splashed down in the Atlantic. When he returned from space, because he was in free fall straight down, terminal velocity coming in from space. Earth's gravity grabs you and pulls you in if you allow it to, with no controlled descent whatsoever before you hit the atmosphere, at about 22,500 miles an hour. So he came in so fast that he pulled over 10 G's on re-entry. He weighed 10 times more than he weighs just at rest at 1 G. Exactly. And Alan Shepard was the kind of guy that, if you listen to the recordings of his re-entry, he is talking during that re-entry. He's talking at 10 G's. He's saying, okay. And then you can hear the stress come out of his voice as he starts to slow during re-entry. He's talking at 10 G's. Nobody that's not a fighter pilot or is trained for that will be able to do that. The normal, during Gemini, the second step towards the moon. Those guys were launching on board, basically they were Titan ICBM missiles. They took off in their ascent. The normal ride to orbit is usually tuned by the engineers and all that stuff to be about an 8.5 minute ride with a max of about 3 G's. Gemini, those guys, they were all fighter pilots too, test pilots, all that stuff. They launched and were in orbit in about 4.5 minutes at about 5 G's, 5 to 6 G's during launch. 4.5 minutes. I mean, it was like a missile launch. It wasn't like a rocket launch. It took off and it went. It had a very visible, it had a difference to it that you don't, when you see other launches, it was visibly quicker watching them go into orbit, and within 4.5 minutes, the engines were cutting off and they were falling around the Earth at 17,500 miles per hour. Now, the space shuttle and going forward in space flight, the norm is 3 G's. You want to make it to where you can kind of take anybody that's been trained, but then you've also got the men and women that are still active military personnel, that are the commanders and the pilots, while you've got scientists, geologists, doctors, all this different stuff going up. So you got to make it so the average trip since about the space shuttle has been 3 G's, and it takes about 8.5 minutes between the time you leave the pad and the engines are cutting off in orbit, and you are 250 miles up, going about 5 miles per second. That's 17,500 miles per hour. I would do it so fast.
See, and yet again, this is where you and I part ways.
You wouldn't want to do it. I mean, you ride a ride at Disney World, but you won't get on something with 3 G's, and it's going to be over in 8.5 minutes.
This is not a hot take. This is just straight up truth coming from the Disney dude's the Disney dude horse's mouth. I don't struggle with, I'm not claustrophobic. I don't struggle with that fear of enclosed spaces. But knowing that I have to sit there, how long does it take to get from, if you're going to go average speed, the recommended speed from point A, point B, when I am weightless, I am zero gravity, I'm out of Earth's atmosphere, gravitational pull. How long is that going to take me? I know, and I got it. I've experienced 2.5 G's. I've flown in planes before. Nothing to the effect that you have, of course, but at the same time, got Guess I'm not a real man. No, no,
Well, I'm
no.
not an astronaut now, so nobody go thinking that Ryland Bayne's an astronaut. Don't Google him. He's got
No.
a doctored Facebook photo on his profile that makes it look like he was an Apollo astronaut. But a friend of mine did that for me. That was
that's a good friend. That's a good friend.
Yeah, but from laying on your back at Cape Canaveral,
Yes.
which is 30, 45 minutes,
Yep.
east of Disney World,
Right
down there in, God's country, Central Florida, because you got Disney and you got the Kennedy Space Center. What more do you want? Besides jorts and some gold chains and some malts. But
and you had me at jorts. / Florida Gators. Just kidding.
But from laying on your back on a pad, looking up at the sky, to going and being weightless and getting out of your seat and floating out of your seat, 8.5 minutes.
Wow.
So it literally, I mean, to talk to astronauts and all of that, and they say it basically feels like, okay, you've been under a load, you've been at 3 Gs. The rocket doesn't take off and instantly hit you with 3 Gs, but you take off and you're going somewhere, and there's a lot of vibration. You definitely, it's like you're in a car and it's taking off and it's taking off fast.
Sure.
But as the weight leaves the rocket, the thrust stays the same. So by physics, the acceleration increases. So the maximum for that is the 3 Gs, and they calculate it very precisely. They don't want to send you up at 8 Gs and have a bunch of squished astronauts up there. But when you first take your belts off and you can actually get out of your seat, the first thing it feels like is when the rockets quit and everything turns off, and suddenly it feels like you're falling and you're tumbling head over heels, because you go from under pressure, laying back in your seat, which you've been doing the whole thing. And spaceflight doesn't coast at any point besides in orbit until they do corrective burns when they're in orbit. You'll have a coasting segment to where you'll get there and the engines will turn off and you'll enjoy 20, 30 minutes maybe. And then on the other side of the planet, you'll fire your engines one more time to try to circularize your orbit. So, and just so that it's not an egg shaped or an ellipse or anything like that, unless that's what the flight profile is for. You will feel instantly the acceleration stops, and everyone on board feels like it's like being on the free fall all of a sudden. It's like laying on your back on a free fall in an amusement park, or like at Disney World, like what is it, Tower of Terror? You're laying on your back and all of a sudden they drop you. But that dropping sensation doesn't end. If you're there for 2 weeks, weightlessness feels like you're falling, essentially. People have a romantic view of weightlessness, and they think it's like being in a pool, which is the best way to simulate it on Earth without falling.
Yeah.
In a pool, you still feel the weight of your guts.
Yeah.
When you're falling, your guts feel like they're up here.
Stuff.
And that tends to make a lot of people, I mean, even people that get motion sick and all that stuff, a little bit of Dramamine wouldn't hurt. And for the first few days, astronauts that get into orbit, if you watch them, they don't move their head very quickly, and they don't make very big movements of their head, because their vestibular system in their inner ear is still trying to adjust to the fact that the norm is falling and not 1 G of like what we experience sitting here.
I just wanted to mention no. I'm learning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm learning. But I just want to let y'all know there will be a quiz at the end of the show, so you will be expected to fail just like me. Not just fail, but fail miserably. Vestibular, yeah, totally knew what that meant. Vestibular system. No, that and.
If you're going into space, you definitely need to want to be there. Pretty much.
Yeah. Motivation is the key here. Yeah, if there's a will, there's a way. Ladies and gentlemen, reach for the stars, literally. But if you're like me, don't do it. But here, an impromptu phone call from a viewer. Hold on. Hey, what's up? I'm here. I'm filming.
Oh.
I'll talk.
See. Sorry, I thought you were filming tomorrow.
Say hi.
Bye.
Hi.
Say hi. Ryland's on. He's telling us all about the innards of some kind of weird fetish he has. No, space. Sorry, space. Are you there?
Oh. I don't want to interrupt that.
Yeah, of course not. Why would you? but no, you're being filmed live. You're with us, uncut raw. Hashtag
Oh,
DDP. Hashtag my life. Hashtag. Are you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. See you soon. We're okay.
All right. Sounds
Uh,
good.
okay. And love you. Bye.
Bye.
And bye. Okay. Sorry. That happens like what? Like on average now, it's like once every third episode, and we're now 8. So yeah. And she's coming home from good old Gaffney, right there on the boulevard near the Yellow Mall.
Has
So
it been a long day of medicine and
yeah,
taking care of
yeah.
the sick and injured?
The kings and queens of Gaffney in Cherokee
All
County.
right. Yeah, the
But
big butt
and
and
I
gap.
get to serve others. At least I get the ones that want to want to promote themselves a little more, whatever. But that's a whole nother. We'll divulge where we are
Oh, yeah.
professionally. If you really want to friend us on Instagram, that's fine. Ryland's on Facebook. He says I don't have an Instagram.
Yeah,
Whatever, but
I've
that's
had
fine. That's
Instagram
his.
before, but it was just pictures of people's food and
Well,
women that would never talk to me in the first place. So I'm like, why would I want to be your friend on Instagram if you're not interested in looking at me on Instagram and the hot dogs I'm eating?
Stop eating the hot dogs. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean everybody's got such fancy
Yep.
meals on Instagram, and they're
Yep,
showing me
I
these
know.
4-course, and I'm like,
Well, then
no, I didn't
you
eat a
didn't.
4-course meal today.
Well, how do you maintain a size -4? No, but all that said and done, man. So we know what it takes to get to space. We know, and we can correlate that to, because my challenge for you, Ron, was how are you going to correlate not just space? Because I mean, space is the final frontier. I don't know why it was. Yeah, I'll take exports for $400. The pen is mightier. I don't know why I'm talking like Sean Connery.
Sean
But-
Connery.
Sean Connery, Turd Ferguson. No, it's a big hat. It's a funny hat. Yeah, Turd Ferguson. That's my name. But no, you were talking about some of the. You said you had some like not conspiracy theories or
No, it's
conspiracy
factual
theories or
stuff.
they're because you didn't, you text me, you kind of gave me a little.
Mhm.
And of course my kids were, and that's part of being a Disney dude is the kids. And you don't have to be I'm a dude, you're a dude, she's a dude, we're all dudes. It doesn't matter what pronoun you identify with. I care, but at the same time I could care less because you're a person and you're listening. And
Exactly.
just
And we
it
appreciate
is what it is. And
Exactly.
we love you. No, we appreciate you. And that being the case, I thought when you're texting me all that information, like
Uh-huh.
you said World War II, blah blah Hitler, blah 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 this. I'm not trying to come up with some buzzwords, but I mean when you say World War II, Cold War, Hitler, obviously that's going to evoke all kinds of thoughts, emotions, whatever. So I thought not far fetched, but potential conspiracy theories. Because you got me thinking, like, well, after World War II, where all the Third Reich go? The Nazis go? They went to Argentina. They went to Buenos Aires. They went to blah
Not
blah.
all of them.
And see, this is where I need your help. So, and
Uh-huh.
you mentioned the name
Werner von Braun.
Werner von Braun, but how does all this it seems like it's just kind of floating out there, all this information. What does this have to do with the Disney Dudes and what we talk about as the Disney Dudes podcast? What in the world? Yes, space. Okay, I get it, space. Sure. World War II. Okay,
But
I
where
kind
does
of
it
get
tie
it.
together?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Well,
And
see,
this is where I'm. Go ahead.
this is, and a lot of people don't understand and maybe have not sought out this history and don't, and maybe they don't know, but
Yeah.
a German gentleman by the name of Werner von Braun, who was he was born in Germany to a poor family and all that stuff. Very talented in physics and math, extremely interested in it. Rocket scientist born and bred. Like the guy just loved the stuff. Well,
Cool.
along came World War II. Werner von Braun became the chief aeronautical engineer for the Nazis' war effort in developing the V2 rocket. Exactly. Yeah, he and his team developed the
Uh-huh.
rockets that rained down on places like the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom, the famous poster, "Keep Calm and Carry On,"
Yep.
that was put in the tube, I guess, their subway over in London and stuff like
Yep.
that,
Mhm.
to try to
Yeah.
calm citizens that were
Uh,
facing attacks by these
yeah.
these German missiles that were flying across the English Channel and landing in London and all over the United Kingdom. Werner
Wow.
von Braun was a member of the Nazi Party, card-carrying Nazi. It is debated historically as to whether he
Uh-huh.
actually bought into the philosophy of the party or he was basically using it for his gain. He had ideas, and he was a man that was kind of limited by the technology of his time and the funding.
Uh-huh.
This guy, when World War II, when everything was up and Germany was falling apart at the seams and the war was ending and the Allies were going to take the war and
Mhm.
free Europe and everything was going to go back to whatever normal we have.
Yep.
He and his team were actually locked away in a mountain chalet in Switzerland and held locked away because Germany knew they had a fantastic aeronautical engineering
Mhm.
mind. He and all of his
Wow.
team, because they developed these rockets and were testing them. And it's safe to say with these guys, I mean, it's with the end of the war, they kept him locked away. Well, there were several teams of Germans, and Werner von Braun convinced them to let he and his team split up and hide from the Allies. Well, what they were doing is Werner von Braun already had it in his mind that he didn't want to go to the Soviet Union
Yeah.
because it was quickly, he knew where he wanted to go, and he thought that
Uh-huh.
America is going to be open to my ideas and possibly fund these wild, the eventual going to Mars. I mean, going to the moon first,
Yeah.
going on to Mars, and all of these different things. So he actually went into Austria, found American soldiers, and he and his team surrendered. So the government, realizing what they had in this guy,
Yeah.
brought he and his team over. And I think at first they were in like White Sands, New Mexico, where they were developing
Mhm.
intercontinental ballistic missiles,
Yeah.
like Titan and all that stuff. And then they
Uh-huh.
had the idea of moving this team of Germans to post. I mean, we're talking right after World War II, moving
Oh,
all these
wow.
Germans to a little town in northern Alabama that's called Huntsville, full of veterans. And all of a sudden, you've got
And
these Germans walking around with these
uh-huh.
accents. So that was an interesting
Huh.
cultural thing. Well, Werner von Braun is the father of our space program, and the fact that he was a Nazi, he is the father.
Uh-huh.
He
Shut up.
This is
Seriously.
where it gets really crazy.
Okay.
Okay, Werner von Braun was a very charismatic guy. He
Yeah.
was an excellent public speaker.
Uh-huh.
One of these with a very soft German accent, was completely fluent in English, just like most of his team and all that stuff. Well, in the 50s, he fell in with a guy by the name of Walt Disney. Walt Disney and Werner von Braun. Now, Werner von Braun was the science, exactly, the man, the namesake, why this podcast exists.
Is
This
everything about
man,
well, quick question.
oh, yeah,
Is my
definitely.
entire is my entire reality gonna
Uh-huh.
come crashing down? Everything, the
No,
platform that I stand on,
no,
or
no,
is this I just
no.
want to prepare
He,
myself for worst
yes, he
case
was a
scenario.
Nazi, but
Yeah.
he did amazing. I mean, without
Yeah.
his vision and his
Uh-huh.
engineering know-how and his team,
Yeah.
we would not have experienced the success we did in space.
Okay.
It's safe to say the Soviets might have been the only skin in the game. Um, but he and Walt Disney met and decided, with Werner von Braun's engineering talent,
Mhm.
technical
Yeah.
know-how, and all that stuff, and Walt Disney was interested in the concept of space travel. I mean,
Uh-huh.
Tomorrowland and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
this.
True.
He was enchanted with the idea too. He thought it was cool. So they got together, and Walt Disney being the animator and the entertainer,
Yeah.
kind of the producer and the director and all that stuff. They
Yeah.
actually came up and on the Wonderful World of Disney. You had 3 different specials. It was Man in Space, Man in the Moon, and then Mars and Beyond. And you had Werner von Braun, a former Nazi card-carrying member of the Nazi Party, explaining to American families on the Wonderful World of Disney how America's space program was going to operate and how we were going to go to the moon.
What in the so you mean to tell me they're behind Muppets in
In
space?
space, exactly.
I knew it. No, that's amazing, man.
Oh yeah, it's something that most people, I mean, Disney and the space program in the very early days, because Werner von Braun used that as a springboard for getting his ideas out there. And what was it? Man in Space, I think, for that time in the 1950s, had, I think, over 40 million viewers.
Wow.
For that time on American television in the 1950s,
mind-boggling.
to have a German, a former Nazi,
Yeah.
standing on television explaining to you how space travel was going to work and what his plans were for this.
Wow.
People were enchanted by this, and it played an integral part at getting America on board with the space program, aside from Soviet achievements.
Yeah.
But see, there was also, and just one more little tidbit, because the rest is history. I mean, Werner von Braun, the Saturn V, all this different, like going to the moon. I mean, that was all his brainchild. He came up with the methods of having to learn to rendezvous and dock in space in order to go. You can't just take off from the Earth and go straight there.
Yep.
You got to come up with a way. I mean, it goes deep into rocket science and space travel.
Wow.
And it's a fascinating little fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, the reason the Russians or the Soviets had so much more success with spaceflight, they had Russians. Now Werner von Braun was famous and was quoted humorously one time when the space program here was early and we were behind the Russians. They sent up a satellite first. They sent Yuri Gagarin. All of that happened first. Two cosmonauts in orbit first. We were behind. Werner von Braun was not worried. He's quoted famously and humorously as saying, "No, don't worry." He's like, "Our Germans are better than their Germans." Basically saying, "My team is better than those guys' team. Don't worry about what those guys are doing. We're going to catch up. Don't worry."
Yeah.
But the Russians or the Soviets had bigger, more powerful rockets by virtue of they had much larger nuclear weapons, nuclear warheads. So they needed more rocket to send it in space. Their nuclear warhead would be the size of a Volkswagen. Ours would be something the size of a suitcase. So we didn't need as much rocket to send a nuclear warhead into space against somebody. So as a side effect of that, the Russians started by sending someone into orbit first. And it was on a really, really big Vostok rocket. We had first Mercury Redstone, which is the Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama, Werner von Braun. First suborbital, and then we finally, with the Atlas rocket, started sending American astronauts up. And it was not until Gemini that we pulled in front of the Soviet Union in space, and they started floundering very quickly, and they did not make it to the moon.
Wow.
They sent a probe there around the same time Neil Armstrong and all that stuff, and America won the space race because of a Nazi from Nazi Germany, who less than 20 years earlier had a rocket factory that employed slave labor and all that stuff. I mean, it was just all of the Nazi stuff that, but that's no reflection on Disney. Disney helped put space flight out there for everybody to see, because in the 1940s, this was all so far out there. Werner von Braun was imagining this stuff.
Yep.
And so was Walt Disney.
And so you're looking at two total, similar but different interests. Obviously, the more technically science, inclined mind, Werner von Braun, right?
Yeah.
Right. I just want to make sure I'm not butchering the name. I can say
anytime you see a W, it's pronounced as a V.
Yeah, exactly.
In classic German.
No,
Werner von Braun.
But that's something I've and you've been talking about it. I've heard the name before, but I just couldn't place it. And initially, I mean, I've heard that name time and time again, but I did not know. I learned something. And folks, Lord knows, I am not a narcissist. I don't think that much myself. It's not that I talk over Taylor in episodes before and ramble on and on. No, no, honestly, that's amazing. That's awesome. So the fact, and so you have got me. I know that I have got to get up at like what 5:45 to get ready for work tomorrow. Take all the kids to wherever they need to be for
Hey, I'm
summer
up at
camp,
4 a.m.
school.
to lift weights.
Okay, okay, yet again. Oh, well, look, yeah, okay.
I got you beat, buddy. I can go.
So anywho, back to normal people. No, no, actually want to sleep in and value going to bed. That's why this episode's going to last 4 hours. You're going to be
Yeah,
dead tomorrow.
Let's do it. 2 a.m.
Exactly.
Let's stop until 2 a.m.
I'm all jacked on all Mountain Dew. Yeah. No,
Let's
let's give them the real South Carolina. No, but no jorts. No jorts.
No
But no,
George. No
but
George.
that information this is the first time. This is why it's such a cool special edition episode of the Disney News podcast, to know, not just to take a deep dive in history, but to be able to speak with someone that lives, breathes. This is your interest. You have memorabilia. Taylor has a lot more Disney memorabilia than me. I have certain memorabilia, and I'm in the midst of, increasing my repertoire. But at the same time, it's so cool how it all ties in together. We're going to bring in so many more people. I'm going to hashtag, Werner von Braun, hashtag this, especially on YouTube and whatever. I want to bring it. This is going to open us up
all that
to so
stuff.
many more. This type of information, it opens us up. It opens our podcast up to so much more, and for that, I have to thank you. So,
And see,
yes,
I encourage everybody listening that doesn't know about this and may have just had their mind blown by this information. That
you're looking at a
Disney
case
was
in
in any
point.
way associated. Now, this is not saying Disney supported the Nazi Party or anything like that.
Well,
These guys came over and they were given American citizenship. I mean, they were as American as you and me. They got the American citizenship. They just came from very interesting circumstances, but were very good at what they were doing. America knew that we had to have these guys for what we wanted to do.
But the timing could not have been more perfect for these gentlemen.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That surrendered. You said, surrendered in Switzerland, right?
All right, Austria. Yeah, they fled. They left Switzerland for Austria, and they found American soldiers and said,
I swear I'm paying attention. But no, but that being the case, so 1940s, how long of course his legacy lives on, Werner von Braun. What was the last was there any other correlation between him and Disney? Of course, that's going to be the inspiration for Tomorrowland, all the way down to present day Mission Space, Astro Orbiter. We're looking Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger.
I think the theme of space, and tomorrow and futurism,
and then
definitely
Epcot.
for Tomorrowland, because Walt Disney had this vision of that kind of thing, and he looked to the vision that Werner von Braun had. And I mean, who knows, had the Axis powers won and been victorious in World War II, the first man on the moon may have been speaking German. I mean, Werner von Braun, while they were building weapons to shoot into the United Kingdom, was thinking of ways to get people onto rockets and send them into space. That's what he wanted to do. And America gave him the perfect outlet for that. Walt Disney was there to put this out there to the masses. Because
that's amazing.
Families gathered around the TV in the 1950s and 60s to watch the Wild and Wonderful World of Disney. I mean, the classics. I mean, was it Snow White and Peter Pan and all? And then all of a sudden, you've got this German rocket scientist on TV explaining to you how you're going to take off, go into orbit, and then when you go to the moon, you're going to dock with another piece, and then you're going to go there and you're going to land in one piece, leave the other piece in orbit, dock with it again when you leave, and go home. He had the vision in his head, and Walt Disney brought elements of that. So it's the Disney parks, like with Tomorrowland and stuff like that, heavily influenced by Walt Disney's vision, which was absolutely influenced by Werner von Braun's vision.
Wow.
Walt Disney got into it. And who wouldn't? I mean, for the 1950s and the early 60s, This
Mhm.
stuff was complete magic to people. I mean,
Yep.
you had veterans
Yep.
from World War II
Mhm.
that stormed the beaches of D-Day
Yeah.
and of Normandy, France, and they never
Mhm.
thought 10 years we'd be talking about sending people on explosives into space, on a controlled
Wow.
explosion into space. And these guys fought
Yeah.
this war, came home. Some of them were pilots, and then they became astronauts. That kind of thing. The Korean War, there were a lot of Korean War veterans that went on to
Yeah.
go into
That's
space.
true.
Yeah,
Wow.
John Glenn had I think 3 or 4 planes shot out from under him in Korea, and wound up the first American in orbit as a Marine. So
Wow.
all of these guys had, they went from test pilot. They were really good.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Neil Armstrong, fantastic fighter pilot, awesome test pilot, all this stuff. All these guys, even the guys that are not the household names, all of them
Sure.
spectacular pilots. So no
Yeah.
wonder they
Wow.
were selected for this kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Oh, I would
What is
kill to be picked for that. I'm a little too
and yet
large,
again,
though. I think I've got a width
yeah.
problem.
You may have a width and height problem in that
Well,
situation.
you can go. I mean, you
Can
can
you be?
be
Can you?
now. You can be as tall as 6'6" now in most private
Oh,
space
wow.
flight.
I was
It's the
about to
weight.
say, especially commercial. Well, it's
I
not, I
tip
mean,
the
there's nothing.
scales at about 250 pounds. So
Yeah.
I'm at the upper end. I think the limit's like 260.
Yeah.
So they might encourage me to try to lose some weight and quit lifting weights a little bit.
I think if motivation will do amazing things for people, but
Oh yeah, I'd be on a treadmill every day. If they told me I was going into space,
yeah.
I'd go in there at 180 pounds.
You got the humidity going for you there.
I had weighed that
You're-
much since 6th grade.
Sweet Jesus. Well, I had one last question for you in regards
Oh yeah.
to, because you always hear that in this. I don't want to be too controversial with this, and I
Mhm.
may rub people the wrong way with this question, but you just never know. But the whole, I say misnomer.
Mhm.
I say completely, because I want to buy, because I buy into the magic. I buy into, the thought that Disney is family friendly, this and that. But of course, they always say dark history, conspiracy theory. He was cryogenically frozen underneath Cinderella's castle, blah blah. Yeah,
Yeah.
shocker. Whatever. Stupid conspiracy theories there, urban legend, urban myth,
Yeah.
whatever. But what about the anti-Semitic correlation with Walt Disney? Because that makes me think you said,
Maybe
and
those
not to
guys were
push
better
that,
friends for a reason we don't know about.
and yet again, that's another potential podcast, but I wasn't sure if you had, and this seems more,
Yeah.
more subjective than objective. Of course, we don't have this and that,
Yeah.
but people can justify anything. People can spin things their own way, whatever. Just kind of depends. You watch
Yeah.
CNN, you watch Fox News, you watch whatever news source. They all
Wherever
spin
you
it their
get your
way
news and
just to
your
get
yeah.
exactly. It's all
Yeah.
whatever, left,
Yeah.
right, middle, whatever, blue,
Yeah.
green, red, but But
Yeah.
that being the case, my thing is, I just wasn't sure if you had not. I'm not trying to get an opinion from you. I'm not trying to goat you. I'm not trying to get you to paint yourself in a corner. But I just wasn't sure if there was any kind of factual, because you hear like he was an anti-Semite, he was a Nazi sympathizer, he was said, because you're talking about Werner von Braun,
Mhm.
Registered Nazi
Yeah.
card carrying member,
Yeah. He was
became.
high up in the hierarchy he was the chief engineer.
We're talking Third Reich. We're talking all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Oh yeah. A serious Nazi. He wasn't just kind of one of the dudes that was kind of there.
Yeah.
I mean, he
So
was.
that
The factories
that's
that
my
he
cool.
ran
Yeah.
had slave labor, forced labor.
Wow. Yeah.
And there are, and since this is more of a family podcast, we'll stay out of
Yes.
some of the specifics
Oh, of
of
course.
some of the things that were used to motivate people to work faster
Sure.
and correctly.
Anybody can
Seek
Google.
this out.
Anybody can open a book. Yeah. It's
there are books on this, and
it's
and
all
the whole
it's
nine
all
yards.
there for you to find. You can do your own research. But
The way I think about this, these two
Yeah.
guys were. Okay, these guys were long dead before you or I were even born.
yeah,
And a lot
Yeah.
of people.
there's
I
no
think we're
no
looking
telling.
back through history and we're trying to put other people's thoughts and everything into modern context,
Yeah.
which of course we know is wrong.
Yeah.
But you can't change the history of it. Like it is what
Sure.
it is. And I
Yeah.
don't think that it's something to put on the space program or Disney, because Disney is probably now a way different company. I mean, in the decades since, Walt Disney's been dead since the mid-60s. Walt Disney didn't live to see the first moon landing.
He didn't live to see Walt Disney completed. He died in 1966.
I think it was 66.
I think 66. Summer, September, October 66.
Yeah, he only made it halfway through the space race. I mean, of where the space race was really getting good. Wernher von Braun did. Eventually, it's said that he became devoutly religious, became a Christian, and was devoutly religious in his end days. But then also and this is a whole other rabbit hole you could go down. Joe Rogan style. But it's
welcome to the new version of the Disney Goose podcast.
He was high up in several social circles here in the United States. Because he became a very big deal, government wise, and all of that, and there's several secret societies that he was allegedly a member of, that he's it was just, Wernher von Braun's name comes up in very interesting places in history,
questionable,
in the 60s and the 70s. Before he died, I don't recall the year he died. He did live to see first moon landing and all that. I mean, he lived to see his triumph.
At least
his idea was us to keep going. After we landed on the moon, it became routine. People tuned into TV for Apollo 13 when there was an emergency. And then it was the American public got tired of it, or just was used to it, and it was routine. And Congress eventually said, no more moon landings. We got other stuff to take care of. And, science fiction was affected by this in the 1960s, where we really thought, eventually, by the 1990s, we'll have people living on Mars,
colonizing Mars, flying car. I mean, where are the flying cars? Back to the Future completely lied. No, that's a whole. That's a Universal podcast. That's the Universal dudes. They look like stunt doubles.
I'm glad we don't have flying cars, because I've seen a lot of people drive, and it's not pretty, and I wouldn't want to see that going through the air.
Not even close. Exactly. So I'm not as thin as you drunk I am, because I've been in behind the wheel of my flying car. No, but and believe me, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers when I say words like anti-Semitic, things like that. But at the same time, it is a very sensitive subject, and we're not delving into that type of stuff. But there are rumors, there are urban myths and legends where people say, well, no wonder, blah, blah, Disney, blah, blah, no wonder, blah, blah, the politics behind it, and the history behind it. But no matter what you do, no matter where you go, there is a dark past to everything.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a dark turn to everything.
And I'm no apologist for Wernher von Braun. I'm not saying he was like, oh, well, he just kind of was doing it and just to be a rocket scientist. And people in his factory were being put in furnaces and the whole 9 yards and all that stuff. I'm not an apologist. I'm just saying, here's the history. This is how it happened. You take what you want to out of that. I mean, it happened. You can't change it. It's done. It's in the past now.
My opinion is, obviously you believe what you want and form your own opinion. To me, there is no true evidence behind said rumors that I kind of alluded to and kind of stated, but at the same time, you can't help but kind of question. You can't help but think, and that's a great question.
If you're a thinker, you think, and that's where your mind goes when you start thinking of this kind of
stuff. And yet again, imagination runs wild. There's nothing objective about it, but that's where I'm going to end that, at least. But I just thought, it's not just I wasn't sure if there's any factual information to back up said claim, question, whatever.
No, I wouldn't. I don't have anything like that.
And you can't help but think that, based on you're talking about, you can't help but think you're talking about, Wernher von Braun, correlation, collaboration, entertainment wise, and then space program wise with NASA. And of course, your mind is just going to run wild. And I guarantee people that actually take the time, and I guarantee this is probably, the most information-rich, history-based podcast. Well, it's the only one like this we've had so far. But I guarantee the type of questions and feedback At
Oh,
least if
yeah.
it were me,
Yeah.
Listening to this podcast, just randomly typing in whatever, trying to like, I'm bored, I want to listen to something new. Oh, Disney, they're all dime a dozen. They're all kind of the same. Oh no, not this episode. So the deep dive we took, and this is just the absolute tip of the iceberg
Oh, yeah.
for this
This
kind
is
of
just the
information.
upper layer of the atmosphere. I mean,
Exactly. See, okay,
there's a
is
whole
that we're
world. There's
talking?
rabbit holes you can go down
Uh,
all over the place. on
exactly.
This topic. So,
But that being the case, I think we've pretty much covered pretty much every area of information, at least elaborated upon, went down, skewed people's opinions because we want them to vote a certain way. No, I'm kidding. No, no, it's like I said, it's completely family friendly, unbiased.
oh, yeah.
It's nothing negative.
Yeah.
It's just a question. If there's information there,
Mhm.
seek it. We want you to give us feedback. If you know more than we do, please give it to us.
I would
'Cause
love someone to hear this podcast and to go, I'm interested in this guy, Werner von
Yep.
Braun. I want to know more.
Well, you pretty much
And
did
I
that to
want
me.
to know how Disney correlates, and I want to get to the nuts and bolts of this. I'm
Exactly.
encouraging you to read history and to take in information you might not have taken in otherwise without listening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's factual history. I mean, it actually happened in
Yeah.
real people, real situations, and real history.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
yeah.
cool.
So yeah,
That's cool.
I'm a history
So,
buff
well,
too. I love history.
we are listed under comedy, but maybe not this week. No, I'm kidding. No, it's
This week
still
we're informative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we are what is it dadgummit, not non we're not nonfiction, but what's the one that's kind of a contradiction?
Oh,
Satirical. I'm just gonna go. We're satirical fiction.
satire. Yes, we're satire.
Yeah, satirical
Satirical.
nonfiction.
Exactly.
Satirical nonfiction. But that being the case, no, I learned a lot. This was awesome. Taylor, who is my next statement? Who is that guy? Don't know who he is. Don't know. Don't care. No, just kidding. Miss you, man. Know you're listening. May not listen, but anyway, this was great. This was fun. I appreciate you
had a
coming on the
blast.
podcast. I appreciate you. Teach me something new. I've heard you've kind of mentioned little things here and there over the years while I've hung out with you when I've come to Charleston. We've gone out for a couple drinks with you and your sweet tea vodka with your your lemonade, whatever, little Arnold Palmer kind of drink, which is always
See,
kind of
what
good.
we've got to do now is now we've got to,
Okay.
because for your listeners,
Yes.
I am notorious for getting in my truck and from Charleston, South Carolina, from my door to the
Yep.
Kennedy Space
Yep.
Center is 6 hours. I will
Wow.
get in my truck, no matter what time of day or night, no matter what the local weather is here in Charleston.
Yep.
As long
Yep.
as the weather at the Cape is good, I will get
Yep.
up at any hour of the day or night, any day of the week, and I will go drive the 6 hours down, watch the launch from several different locations that kind of only locals know about.
Yeah.
And then I will
Yeah.
drive 6 hours straight back, and we have to do that at some point.
And that's going to happen before the end of the summer. We're talking because I don't mind saying, I work in higher education. The fall semester is coming up real soon. I'm going to be inundated with lots of fun students that I'm going to be working with and all that stuff and teaching and all that. But all that said and done, it's got to happen sooner than later, within the next 6 to 7 weeks.
There's
So,
a Starlink launch with SpaceX Friday, and I am so distraught that I won't be able to make it to that. But they're with SpaceX and launching Starlink, they're launching like 2 a week now. So
oh wow,
they're launching rockets all the time from the internet, from the Kennedy Space Center. I mean,
okay.
oh
Cool.
yeah, the whole launch complex down there. So there are plenty of opportunities coming up. So
One last side note: went on my senior cruise when I took a cruise out of Port Canaveral. Right,
you have to do it
When
when
we
there was a
got-
launch.
when we got off the boat at the end of the trip, and I was done with that trip. I actually got to see a lot. They talked about it, but I wasn't sure when it was going to take off. We got back around like 7, 8-ish in the morning. And I'm half awake. I'm tired, and I'm 18. I just turned 18. I didn't care because I was a stupid teenager. But I look up.
I would have been bouncing down the hall in like
Wow.
Mr. Peepers from SNL in the 1990s.
back,
It's Catan. Yep. Shred an apple, throw it away.
Just told me crawl on my shoulder, start breathing on their head.
Yeah. And some people listen to this podcast are not going to know who it
I have
is.
no
So
clue.
you need to Google Mr. Peepers. So you know.
Mr.
Yeah.
Peepers.
You'll
Quit
see
making-
Chris Kattan, comedian Chris Kattan is Mr.
all
Peepers.
these innuendos, Mr. Peeper. Okay. Well, now we're no longer allowed to be 100 yards within 100 yards of a school like Trey McLeod. But anyway, so, but no, when he stepped off the boat, it wasn't a big. It was Port Canaveral Cruise Lines, and that tells you it was this tiny little 4-story boat. But to me, big time. We got to go to Freeport. We went to Key West, had a great time. But coming back, the coup de grace for my trip, looking up, and I saw that rocket. I actually saw it. I mean, in its full glory, way up in the sky, in that trail of smoke. The coolest thing I've ever seen. One of the coolest things I've ever seen.
When I was a kid, what hooked me?
Yeah.
In this, I always loved aircraft as a little kid, but there was a family Disney trip to Walt Disney World, and I can't remember what year. It was the Space Shuttle Challenger launch before the explosion.
Wow.
We went out there, and my dad found out that there just happened to be a launch. So we all got dragged out of bed at the hotel. And before sunrise, we were headed over to the coast to watch the space shuttle take off.
Yep.
I remember vividly as a tiny kid watching it from the causeway there at Kennedy Space Center. I remember the vibration, I remember the sound, and I remember the light. And I was completely enchanted that they had put people on this thing. Watching this thing go off and go into space, and they're gone. Space shuttle.
Yeah.
From then on, you know, I think when I was a kid, I think my parents told me, you know, one of those early words that kids have was "Pei-sha-boo." I was trying to say space shuttle. Pei-sha-boo. And
I think I've
and I would not stop saying Pei-sha-boo until everybody looked up and said, "Yes, Ryland, Pei-sha-boo."
Yeah.
Space shuttle.
That's a girl straight up from Clarendon County or Sumner County right there. Pei-sha-boo. Come on, girl. That's the name of your dog.
Pei-sha-boo.
That's Pei-sha-boo playing at the Sumner Civic
South
Center.
Carolina in an all South Carolina edition.
You got a shoehorn. I say sprinkle, not shoehorn, but we are
They say like
forcing you.
Pei-sha-boo is normal English in like Somerton and places like that.
Is that Geechee talk down in Charleston? That Geechee?
Yeah.
Get that Gullah talk.
Yep.
But anyway, that's awesome. And see, the best thing about this podcast is it is Disney related, but it's whatever evokes excitement, whatever makes you happy. And if it happens to be Disney related, that's great. But majority of what we talk about can be correlated to what the podcast's platform is all about. But fundamentally, what we stand for, just talking about things that are of interest, being like-minded, and just having a good time, making each other laugh. Now, when we did do we got a little personal, Taylor and I did, with our Instagram stories, because we were doing basically it turned into an impromptu campaign. Like, do you trust this face? And you zoomed in on my like part of my beard that was like kind of sketchy and scraggly. He's like, do you trust this like this C-grade beard? I'm like, oh, you jerk. Vote Taylor.
A little salt and peppery.
Exactly, a little salt and pepper. And then I get this, and then I wrote back. I was like, would you trust a guy that's never ridden the rock and roller coaster? Yeah, that's right. Taylor's never ridden the roller. It's true. He's never ridden the rock and roller coaster.
See, so that I can see all this stuff. Y'all are kind of shaming me into needing to get an Instagram, and that's the last thing I need is more social media.
But if you do the Instagram, if you do the gram, I can't do it. I'm too old. But if you get on Instagram or just social media in general, and it's just an extra. It's just like posting a picture, but you can do so many filters. You can do so many filters and do all this like stuff and get your avocado toast on there with this little paprika.
Oh yeah. No. What are you eating? And what does your face look like today? Because you got a squirrel filter or something. I'm like, why aren't you eating acorns? Why are you eating those pancakes? I thought squirrels ate acorns. I was wrong.
Dang girl, I see were you still doing pancakes? Dang girl, just holding that camera up at a daggum bird's eye don't mean it. Moving on the lips, lifetime on the hips. No, just kidding. No,
We could go all kinds of avenues with this,
exactly.
but not on the
Exactly.
podcast.
But not on the podcast. We already wasted your time there. But,
Oh yeah.
but I think we started with some good light fun stuff. We got into the meat and potatoes, some great information, man. I learned something new. I laughed, I cried, I experienced everything. You deserve the Oscar here. But no, that's awesome. That's awesome. But no, I think, like I said before, I wasn't trying to cue the music like, come on, Ryland, wrap it up. No, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure, not just to see you kind of in person, but virtually via the inner
I
tubes
don't
and
see you
interwebs.
nearly enough in
No,
person. We need to
no,
at least video chat more often.
correct.
They
And we
do
will.
this in sci-fi all the time, and I see people texting and calling each other. But in
Yeah.
sci-fi movies on TV, they're always talking to each other face to face. But we don't do that in real life. We text.
Well, I get nervous doing one-on-ones. That's why I have
Oh
wacka
yeah,
wacka.
you
You got
got
Fozzie Bear
yeah,
with me, and I've got
Fozzie
Gonzo
looking
with the
over.
chicken.
Yeah.
As I grab his nose. Whoops, that wasn't his nose. Just kidding. But no, it's the end of the podcast. You can say things like that.
Oh,
But no. But all in all, no, I think we covered it all. That, like I said, it's a real pleasure to have you on.
It's
Episode 8 has
fantastic to be
definitely
here.
been. It's been one for the books. It's been one for the ages. People find his name. You're officially on. Your little name's on the thing here, so you're personally connected to. There's now a permanent record of you being on the Disney Dudes podcast, which is going to go huge. No, but no, we will definitely have Mr. Ryland Bayne, Captain, Corporal, Brigadier General Ryland Bayne back as soon as possible. And we're gonna and the next challenge is gonna be I'm gonna pick a topic. The next special edition thing, the next special edition Disney Days podcast that you come on, because special editions are going to be reserved for you and just a couple other people that I have in mind. Not Trey McLeod, but I'm going to have a topic.
If he's listening, he's like, "Why are they laughing? Why are they still laughing?
Why do they laugh when I say my name? Why? Waluigi is Trey. Just kidding. That's a totally inside. You never understand.
Trey's totally got to be on here. And when Trey's on here, I won't be on here.
Okay. That's not the Disney News podcast anymore.
No, it's not. No,
it's no longer. I've lost control of
idiots
everything.
with microphones and
idiots that should be talking like we are right now.
Shouldn't be on your radio or on your screen right now. Yeah.
Exactly. We are definitely entertaining to not listen to. But no, but it's going to be, I have a surprise for you. I thought about it, but it's going to be a topic you have no experience with. It's going to be like, all right.
That would be fantastic because I have no clue how I would handle that.
It's going to be like, all right, we're going to talk about Disney dudes. We're going to talk about Disney related apparel, but Lululemon. Let's talk about Lululemon styles. Let's talk about Lululemon clothes. I got no clue, but I mean something like off the wall, but something that would be completely out of your wheelhouse.
So people can look at me knowing nothing about the topic, can watch me on YouTube or listen to me on Spotify, make an absolute butt of myself.
To
leave another word out.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm a good sport. I'm a good sport.
Yes. Yep.
I'm not afraid to put myself out there for comedy. So.
Well, you clearly did that with The Dudes Go to Space for episode 8. But anyway, anyway, I'm Disney Dude Abbott. This is special guest Disney Dude Ryland. Disney Dude Taylor will be back next week. Yes, but we appreciate it. Ooh. Yeah. Flex, like muscle. Yeah, do it. Super excited. Last thing I do have big news next week on Tuesday, the Disney Princess Half Marathon weekend, the weekend of February 23rd through 26th of 2023. Registration opens up on June 21st at 10 a.m. The last time people registered for a Run Disney race was back in May. It was a complete train wreck. I watched it. I just tried to click on the portal. The whole website crashed. There were way too many people. I'm optimistic. I'm nervous about not getting a spot, but I'm pretty sure I'll get one because we're talking just
Wait,
for
how many
the
people
Disney.
did they let total do it?
When I did and this is not, they just brought it back after before COVID. It had been a couple of years, probably 3 years since they had done it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah, with COVID they wouldn't do
COVID.
it.
Yep, COVID. Yeah.
So now
But
everybody's got to do it.
Everybody's compensating. Yeah.
Everybody's got
And
compensated for the last few years.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, got money to burn, but no. The we were able to sign up for registration opened up in September, October, I think, for maybe even later because I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't know what the Run Disney thing was all about. I just happened to get on the website, register for the the spring surprise weekend is what they call it.
Yeah.
But when I did the Tower of Terror 10 miler,
Yeah.
I was able to sign up for it, and like a week later, it was sold out. Right, but this is the most. But the Walt Disney World Marathon is the first full weekend in January. That's the big one. But the one
Yeah,
that's
I was
become
about
much
to
more
say,
popular, yeah,
it's a
that's the official one.
marathon.
That's exactly which
Yeah.
you'll never catch me doing. But I've done one half, did the Kiowa half marathon before. Loved it back in
Well, here in Charleston,
2018.
I stay out of the bridge run every year to give the
Yeah.
Kenyans a chance. I want them to have a chance to win the race, and so I don't even enter. I'm
It's
better off staying in bed that morning.
when we need more humble people, unlike myself, as guests on the podcast. People look at the humble pie that he is serving himself. That huge piece of humble pie, he is just shoving it down the gullet. Jerk. No, the Disney Princess Half Marathon. The cost is $229.19. It's on February 26th of next year, 2023. But registration opens up for the Disney Princess 5K, the Disney Princess Enchanted 10K. You could do the Disney Fairy Tale Challenge. They even have virtual races, and they have different
Yeah,
challenges.
what is the challenge? What is entailed in the challenge?
The challenge is going to be? It's probably a combination of the 10K and the half marathon.
Oh, okay. I
Back to
thought it
back.
was like one of those warrior runs or something where you're attacked by
Oh.
stormtroopers or something.
They have yet to do that. It's like the
That
Spartan
would be.
run. That would be cool. So
I
look
would
at
do
you. Look,
if they had a Disney Warrior run and it was stormtroopers and death
yeah.
troopers or the what. Before this podcast, I just watched episode 4. No. What is
Yeah.
episode 5 of Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Is it good?
Have you not watched any of it?
No, I have yet. I haven't finished Stranger Things. I
Dude,
get so
you're a
tired of that.
Disney podcast and you haven't
I know.
seen. Oh, Star Wars is a Disney property now. You have to watch this. You're obligated to now. Let me
I've
tell you
seen
something. And for anybody else that's listening right now that hasn't seen Obi-Wan Kenobi, if you liked Rogue One, which was the movie that was set right before episode 4 that brought you in within
Yeah.
2 minutes of the beginning of the original Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
This is done in it's quality. The special effects are great. It's like watching a movie broken into about 5 or 6 different pieces.
Oh wow.
And it is absolutely fantastic. So
Okay.
I came in here riding the high from Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay,
And there's only one more episode left of this. So you've got a lot of catching up to do. So next time I come by this podcast, we need to discuss some Star Wars. I think there needs to be a Star Wars episode or a Star Wars podcast. Star Wars.
We will rank
this podcast.
We will rank them, and we will correlate that to the rides.
Oh yeah, because I want to go to the Star Wars park. What is the Galactic Rim or whatever it's called? Yes.
Galaxy's Edge, Batu.
Galaxy's Edge.
I went for the first time when I went in 2018. It was still in construction. You could see the mountains kind of sticking out. But when I went last year, November, it was incredible. And we got reservations impromptu for Oga's Cantina.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about? That little all the drinks and everything.
Oh, exactly.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like you're walking into like exactly that. But
I could go all night.
But what they did was they repurposed one of the original Star Tours robots, and they turn him into a DJ. He's a DJ now, and he plays all the hits. Yeah,
that's the little robot that was in the corner during Star Tours.
Exactly.
Explaining stuff and was supposed to be operating the spacecraft.
And now C-3PO takes that role at Star Tours.
Wait, they still have Star Tours? I haven't in years. I have not.
That's a walk-on. There's no more. Yeah, they get people in and out. Yeah, it's a random. They have so many endings. You never get the same. You have to ride it like 50 times.
Then I'll take the challenge.
I'm serious.
I'll take the challenge.
Yep. But
I'll
the
do
next
it.
time we go to Disney next year, at least Emily and I, because our plan is to go in February next year for the race, and then go in the fall again with the family around the same
Yeah.
time. Because like the first, second week of November, there are less crowds. It's kind of like that
Yeah.
lull after Halloween before
Yeah.
it ramps up for Christmas, Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Yeah.
But you still get the decorations from Halloween, Thanksgiving, into Christmas because they literally flip a switch overnight and change everything. It's
That
amazing.
blows the logistics. I'm a logistics man. I work in shipping.
Yep.
And the
Yep.
logistics of Disney World and how everything changes, like,
Yep.
I have
Oh, there's a documentary on
all the
Disney Plus
respect in
about
the
it.
world for that.
It's amazing. So
Yeah.
that being said, the plan is to go back to what I want to do is maybe this summer,
Mhm.
do a day. Hollywood Studios, it's hard to get a reservation. You got to book it at least like a few, like you can do it 2 weeks in advance, give or take.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to Animal Kingdom. If I could do a day at Animal Kingdom, amazing. You have no idea.
I will
You have no
take
clue.
that challenge. If you want to go down there on a Saturday and just do it for the day
Yes,
and then ride
that's my
back,
plan.
I'm sure there's some people I
Easy.
can talk you. We could stay on
Easy.
Folly. I'm
Easy.
sure. Yeah.
Easy. Make it happen. And you're looking at park tickets going to be what, a little over $100 for the day. It's a walk in the
That
park.
works.
And I know where to go. I know how to do it cheap. We go to
Yeah.
Nomad's Lounge, get a few drinks.
Yeah.
Expedition Everest, go to Pandora.
Oh, yeah.
Go to Pandora. Yep.
Yeah.
Those rides there, the Flight of Passage, that's an
Yeah.
incredible ride. Rode it 3 times in one day. It's incredible. Expedition Everest, you've never ridden a roller coaster like it. It's my favorite ride at Disney. But I haven't ridden.
I've never been on that.
Oh, it's
It's a
incredible.
roller
And it's
coaster?
a roller coaster. Expedition Everest is a roller coaster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Goes forwards,
Okay.
backwards. It's all about trying to get away from the Yeti. It's amazing. Yeah. It's an amazing ride. But
Is it the Yeti from the was it Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer from the 60s, the claymation one?
what's his name?
I
Bumble?
don't know.
Bumble. Yeah, Bumble. Yeah, his name's Bumble.
He had a name? I just thought he was the
His name-
Yeti.
No, Bumble.
Oh,
It's
okay.
very
I had
disappointing.
no clue.
It's kind of, we have a toy. One of my kids has Bumble.
Really?
You read the tag. Its name is Bumble.
His name is Bumble.
It's a little
I'll
disconcerting.
never
It's
call
not
him. I
exactly.
call him the Yeti.
Yeah, you seem disappointed. That's not a surprise. That's kind of the
Yeah.
case every time that I like. What's the Yeti? Roar. What's your name?
Yeah.
Bumble.
He would roar and you would see his
Bumble.
teeth and his eyeballs would start rolling around in his head.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part.
Not the same, but there's a little history behind that. The animatronic they created for Expedition Everest is it's like Escape from Expedition Everest, something like that is
Yeah.
the name of it. But the audio animatronic actually broke down within the first year, and they have yet to repair it. So they
Wow.
just have like a projection on the screen that like breaks the track.
Yeah.
And the whole concept is you go up Everest,
Uh-huh.
then you go backwards through the dark, and it goes all these loop to loops. It's really cool. And then you
get
stop and you
negative
go
genius
forward.
then.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're feeling all types in your rear end right there. And
Yeah.
people like Trey McLeod would love that kind of ride. But that being the case, that's what I had in mind. Something to think about. Hollywood Studios would be amazing, but there's too much to do at Hollywood Studios.
But what about,
You'd be
I've got to go
rushed.
to Star Wars. I got to go to the Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge is one of those where you have to. The
You
line.
need more than a day.
You need more than a day, and that's what we did. Yeah, it
Oh.
sucks. It's great,
Uh-huh.
but it sucks. And they have the Toy Story Land, which is a lot of fun too. Like,
Yeah.
believe me, do not underestimate.
But
Toy
it's
Story.
not main event Disney. I mean, it's something purely for Star Wars.
It is. It is the Slinky Dog Dash, that roller coaster. That's a main event. But I did ride Smuggler's Run is a lot of fun. It's flying the Millennium Falcon is awesome.
Yeah.
But nothing but the Lord knows what is it oh my gosh, I can't believe why it's blanking me now. The big boy ride, the one that everybody wants to ride. Oh gosh, I'm gonna look it up right now. It's killing me. I don't know why it just left me.
You got to go to Google during your podcast.
Rise of the Resistance.
Oh,
just thought of it.
that one has like 3 or 4 different endings or something like that.
No, it's
Somebody
one thing.
told me one of these rides does.
That's Star Tours.
And you
Star Tours
encounter
has
an
that.
Imperial Walker at the end or something like that, or
The Rise of the Resistance is 100% immersive. You go with where all the AT-ATs, or however you want to say it, AT-ATs. You are
yeah,
immersed with
Imperial
Kylo.
Walkers.
But the cast members they immerse you. You meet with Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. And you meet with him, and you walk through, and you walk into the next setting, and they actually, someone with a lightsaber actually cuts the wall open, and the wall falls and opens up, and you walk into like and it's a free, it's a trackless ride, so it goes in different random. So definitely, you see all the same same things, but you definitely, people stormtroopers are shooting at you. Kylo Ren and his first general, it's the most advanced audio animatronics created to date, and it's 100% immersive. It's look at a video of it. It's incredible. And you go inside, outside. As soon as you walk in, there's a picture with all the. You may see the iconic picture of all the stormtroopers standing there when you first walk in the queue.
Yeah,
it's incredible. And there's like an immersive OLED, like huge OLED screen behind them where you see. Look, it immerses you in space.
That's
you
fantastic.
see like TIE fighters flying around.
See, if anybody's listening to this podcast that could find a spot for me to be a stormtrooper in either a TV show, I don't want my face to be on any Star Wars movie. I want to be the awkward, slightly larger stormtrooper that's in with the rest of the bunch that, you know, might have lifted some more weights, might be a little larger than the average stormtrooper.
Mel Brooks's Spaceballs might be more of our speed.
Dark helmet.
What's your name? Bar. No, Bar. Whatever. I'm a Mog, half man, half dog. No, but anyway. But we can go on and on. But I think I'm gonna reel it in because I'm not good at that. But we've got some good content here. We've been going on. This might be the longest podcast yet.
I was about to say we're over an hour and a half now. So
this
if you haven't gone to sleep behind the wheel or listening to Spotify or in front of the TV watching YouTube, watching this,
if you actually listen to this entire podcast, I'm impressed. Lord knows, I'm not going to, because I'm gonna check out when the YouTube. I'll watch the first half hour, then I'm gonna check out. Peace, brother. But anyway, I'll send you a link for the YouTube premiere. It'll be a premiere. You see a cool countdown. You may have seen it before, maybe not, but you'll definitely have front row seat. I know you'll want to watch it, and when you see yourself live action, and when you listen to yourself,
usually I don't like seeing myself, so this might be the only episode I don't listen to or watch.
You need to.
I've got that syndrome. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't like watching myself or listening to myself. Like, I hear my voice and I'm like, no, it sounds terrible. Stop.
And believe me, I thought I did, and then I got some feedback. I was talking about it. One of my coworkers heard me talking about it with somebody else, and he said, "Hey, I went up to my Alexa and said, 'Hey, Alexa, play the Disney News podcast,' and it clicked in right away." And it popped
you
up.
Guys are a big deal now.
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you.
No one's going to leave you alone when you go to the Magic Kingdom. That's all.
Apparently. Ladies, please. Oh, your 4-year-old children. Just kidding.
Send them my way. I'm the bachelor. So, yeah.
That's true. Emily, I need you to go get some Dole Whip and ear muffin, and nothing's happening here. So yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna spin you around. What's this blindfold for? It's for later. Let me spin you around 5 times and go. Anyway, just kidding. But anyway, like I said before, I'm Disney Dude Abbott. I appreciate our special guest, Disney Dude Ryland, checking in and giving us some great content. We tried to finish the show before, and you're like, wait, what? No, it was more my fault than yours. But yeah. Taylor
and I tend to go on different tangents.
Yeah.
And
it happened, but believe me, this is high quality content. This is what I call solid gold. This is high quality Disney Dude gold content.
Let's hope your listeners agree.
They don't, but I could care less.
They'll just have to tune in for the next episode when the goofy guy is not the guest.
Look at that. Well, I don't know, Taylor.
The goofy space cadet.
Well, who's that guy with the giant ego? Can't fit in the room. No, I'm just kidding. It's me. But no. Now after we get our Ryland merch on our t-shirts, special edition Ryland merch. That'd be awesome. No, I'm just kidding. You never know what will happen. But anyway, I appreciate you being on.
Hey,
And
it was a pleasure.
yeah, man. But we'll have to have you back on. And I know Taylor's he missed out tremendously, but don't worry, he'll be back next week. Topic, I definitely have one. It's gonna be a doozy. It may or may not have to do with Magic Kingdom. I've been putting it off.
Uh-huh.
But I have to give in to potentially top rides at Magic Kingdom. But I will begrudgingly do that episode because that's the one I don't want to cover. I feel like I want to wait 3 years in the future because I want our podcast to be the biggest one ever in regards to Disney related content and whatever. But of course, wish in one hand and in the other, and see which one fills up first. And there you go. But like I said, I appreciate you being on, man. But have a good one, and we will see you on the other side. Until then,
thank you very much, and I will appear as requested.
You better appear because I'm a lot smaller than you are, but I control this podcast. And Mother Trucker, you better appear. No pressure. And ladies, don't hesitate to give him a call. But anyway, yeah, man. All right, it's been a pleasure. Talk to you soon. All right. We'll see you all next week.
Yeah, yes, sir.